All right, we started on page Kuf Mem Hayim. We started this portion there. Begins by pointing out a very fundamental principle that in everything there is the Atzmus and the Hispashtus. I have to discuss this a little bit because of some of the questions that came up yesterday. Hispashtus is a broad expression. It's spreads all over the place. Can we close the door over there? No, we can't. Atzmus seems to be just a narrow point. And as a result of this perception, some of us came to think of these two aspects of Atmos and Hispashtus as Hispashtus enriching the Atmos. Which is a fundamental error, a very important principle to understand. Yes, Hispashtus is the Hispashtus from the Atzmus. But it must be understood that the Atzmus is the source of everything that's in the Hispashtus. Not only is it the source, this is what gives the Hispashtus a fundamental reality. Not for the Atzmus, the Hispashtus would just dissipate into nothingness. Since this question came up, and since I realized that this needs to be discussed and brought forth, and we should really relate to this, so I'm going to go a little bit into the area that you explain it. For Moshe, the Mishalim are always very simple, and we are taking the principles that are exposed by the Mishalim for granted, without realizing how great these inyonim are. A table, as we know it, is a board on four legs. A board on four legs, this is how you make a table. But when we as human beings come to use the table, or even to observe the table, we have a certain respect for this table. We not to respect the table because of its four legs. We don't bring the table into our beautiful dining room because of its structure. It has a true atzmus element. There's an essence to the inyan of the table. I'd like to go into this because, yes, these are different things and we don't think of it and so forth. But for once, what is in fact a table? A table is exclusively a human phenomenon. Gentlemen, we'd appreciate if you would let us not interfere with the noise. Thank you. Thank you very much. You can talk here. Why don't you go over there?
Exactly, that's what I said.
What is in fact a table from a human perspective? What is it qualified from a human perspective? If you have something in your hand, you have a cup in your hand, and you can't hold it, you want to put it down, so you have a table. This is not what defines a table. I've said many times, for that you can have a rock, you can have a chair, you can have a windowsill. This is not what you bring a table into the house, into the dining room. A table is a direct hispashtus of the atzmius of a human being. Perfect illustration of the two words what the Rebbe says. In everything there's an atzmus and the hispashtus. We quote from the Gemara, Odom she'ein ba'is ein li Odom. Which means that the bias, this is the hispashtus of what a human being is. What in fact is the human being? As we discussed it many times. The human being is a divine creation, a unique divine creation. A divine creation of the caliber representing the divine presence in the world. As the Pasuk says, Odom b'tzalmeinu kidmuseinu. Odom is in our form and in our likeness. Let us think into this. The form of the human being is that the head is on top, the feet on the bottom. We can elaborate on this, but I'm going to let it sink in. Everyone should be able to identify it, find it in their own intelligence, the significance of this in you. When you see a table, first you say, how come it's standing? Oh, it has legs that support it. And then you say, oh, what is it for? Why is it standing here? You start from, so to speak, from the bottom up. On a human being, you don't start that way. You don't question what's a human being doing here. Why is it standing on legs? Why is his head on top? It's a reality in itself. In other words, this is not so for practical and for developmental results. This is a must. This is a definition of what a human being is. A primary definition. Why is it a primary definition of human being that the head is on top? Because a human being stands for, he represents the intellect, the thought process. He does not represent earth, he represents sky, heaven. He represents ruchnius rather than gashmius.
To remain on this call, press 1.
What is the most ruchnius aspect in the world? In the human being. In emotion, there's an actual, so to speak, experience of emotion. If one has emotion, he gets heated up, he gets all excited. The most ruchnius aspect in the world is the intellect. And in the human being, in the intellect itself, this is the super aspect in the human being, this is the chokhmah. Where it's not even dependent, it's not even expressing something that you've identified in the world. This is prior to coming to the world. This is what gives significance and value to everything in the world. This is, in fact, the godly element in the world. The intellect approaches the world from a completely different perspective. What is it about? What is its value? Why did the Creator make it? Where do I find the Creator in it? As the Gemara relates, Avraham Avinu was walking around the world and he was saying, where is the boss over here? I see the boss. I see something much more significant than the intangible part of the world. Ein bira b'lei manhig, as the Gemara says. The man making a bracha. This ruchnius, the spiritual aspect, the godly aspect, this is the essence of everything in the world. This is its truth. This is what gives it a presence, was what I speak, a compelling presence. The legs and the board, these are the result of what the table is. This is not what makes the table. This is what presents the table in the physical realm. But this is not what makes the table on the intellectual and the human level. There is an atzmiyus in everything in the world. In order for it to be in the world, it has to have a hispashtus. A table has to have 4 legs, has to have a place to be, and so forth. But what brings it, what gives it the right to be? It does not claim its place because it takes it over. It's given its place. Why is it given its place? Because of an atzmi element in that it stands for. This atzmius is the source of all the hispashtus. Not the hispashtus complements and makes the atzmius bigger. Very big misunderstanding. The atzmius is what gives the hispashtus a sense of value. The hispashtus is that an emanation from the atzmus that brings the atzmus into excuse me, precarious environment. The real presence is in the intellect. This is where the real value and significance is identified. Then it comes down into the emotion, and it comes down into action, and then it comes down into interaction. This is all the hispashtus of that atzmus. The atzmus, as we pointed out many, many times. Atzmius is something which is representative of that which is completely higher than world, higher than Mitzias. A divine truth, a divine element. This is what we said, we started doing Rotzoin. The fact that there is a will, the fact that there is significance in it, this is the way to call that is pashtus. Not the space that it occupies, and not the wisdom, the skill with which these two legs were put together. None of the above. And not anything else that you can call and attribute to this structure. Everything that goes into the structure is a derivative of its atzmus. The atzmus contains a spirit for all the things that are derived from it. If people make a table and they decorate the table, there are the two boards that hold up the side panels, and they decorate the side panels. That decoration is a derivative of what a table is, of the atzmius of a table.
You might have thought differently.
Well, you might not have thought, but this is how it came out yesterday. That I got feedback that the pashtus enriches the atzmius. This is a very fundamental misunderstanding. It is the atzmius that provides for everything aspect that goes on out in these pashtus. Everything. The decoration on the tablecloth.
So leaving aside any orchoizer or any kind of feedback.
No, I'm not talking about
fine, but so it seems quite simple that everything's originating from an essence. That seems quite straightforward.
What?
It seems quite straightforward that everything's originating from an essence. I don't know what we're.
I'm explaining to you. I came into and I undertook to talk there because I got questions that pointed to a misunderstanding of this principle.
Namely, the misunderstanding was that by decorating the table, you're contributing to the table?
You contribute to the answer.
Okay.
We weren't talking about table, but something in the same vein.
Right. And I'm guessing that person was thinking along the lines of Yerida L'Tzorech Aliyah, that there's some kind of...
What's the difference?
The person was thinking on the line because this is how this is demonstrated in the world.
Oh, that what? That the table's cumulative, right?
The decoration on the table, the beauty of the table, and the structure and how it stands. This is what makes, what gives a special value to the table.
Okay.
I don't know how it came up, but we had on the WhatsApp a discussion about wealth, richness. Rich, it was suggested this is success. This is what makes a person successful and makes a person, I don't remember exactly all the terminology. Here again is a clear misunderstanding. Wealth is a derivative of the greatness of a human being. It is not a contributor. It's not a means by which you make a human being. The Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe, speaks about this when he first came to America. He spoke about American culture, and he says there's a typical expression in America.
How much is he worth?
How much is he worth? And the Rebbe spoke about it quite extensively. And clearly this is a total misnomer. A person is not identified by how much money he owns, he has. This is a typical American expression. How much is he worth? And we have to think into this and understand that the worth of a person, the reason that wealth is significant is because he's a human being, not the other way around. As we said on the WhatsApp, because a human being has great things to accomplish. And he can only accomplish it if he has the means to do that. This is where wealth comes in. This is the value of wealth. Not the other way around. So this is what the Rebbe says. B'chol davar yesh atzmus hispashtus. Again, let's think into this. Very important. This atzmus, where does it come from? These pashtus, we understand where it's coming from. But where does the atzmus come from? The answer is, it's a divine gift. It's a divine presence. The atzmus is the divine presence in everything. When a person wakes up in the morning and he's still a little bit sleepy, a little bit tired, or a bit lazy, or he doesn't have the spirit to get up, etc., 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 all kinds of different pressures that come upon a person, and questions and attractions, detractions, and the pressing aspect, all kinds of different things. One thing that he has to realize, that there is a divine presence that is giving him support and that woke him up. Shechazarta bi nishmosi. The fact that you woke up is because the Eibishter brought the neshama back into you. When he thinks from that angle, all of a sudden he's a different human being. It's a different presence. And the world into which he woke up is also a different presence. Let's continue. Okay, in the middle of the top line, the gam be'oiro insoy, which means, since we said that b'chol dover in everything there is atmos hispashtus, this means the gam be'oiro insoy, that even also in the oiro insoy, what else can you attribute? Can you relate to Ein Sof? The word, it's very difficult. We tried and we did many times. I want to do it again. Ein Sof means not the oil from Ein Sof, the oil that is inherently Ein Sof. And it means, Ein Sof does not mean measuring wise, a yardstick, so it means it's beyond measuring its value. It's a super value, so to speak. Its value is not measurable. That's the oil Ein Sof. In the Oir Ho'in Soif, Yesh Bechinas Ho'atzmus, in that itself there is also Bechinas Ho'atzmus, the Ein Soif. The Bechina, the aspect of the Atzmus, of the essence of the Ein Soif, the Oir Ein Soif. Ubechinas HaHispashtos Sholei. And then there is also the Hispashtos aspect of this Oir Ein Soif. The Atzmus means the reality itself, not how it shows itself, not its effect, its presence from its own perspective. Nobody has to give it cognizance. It's an intrinsic value. Doesn't look for recognition whatsoever. In that Atzmus there is Atzmus and Hispashtus. The Ho'atzmus, where the Atzmus, we're talking about Oir Ein Soif. Oir Ein Soif means the Oir that has no value, so to speak. No, it's not value measurable. The Atzmus hu rak b'bchinas gila mihoetz. What is the Atzmus in Oir Ein Soif? The Atzmus means the essence. Let's go back to the principle of to in our words, however we can express it. There's no way we can really understand it. But we know of its truth. The Rambam says, the first principle is to know that there is a first being. This first being did not come from any place. There's a first being. There is no question, why is he there? It's a first being. There's no why. The real question for us, the challenge to our mind, because we're asking where does it come from and so forth. The challenge to our mind in this union, this understanding of first being, is the fact that we are asking where is it coming from is revealing the shortcoming of our own thought process. The basis of reality that we perceive it. Why is it a shortcoming? Because when you say where is it coming from, you are immediately admitting that it has to come from someplace. That means that the fundamental reality is nothing. Before anything happens, something has to make it. This is a shortcoming in our perception and understanding. And the reason we understand this is because we understand things from our worldly perception. We don't understand what divine reality is. But there is no such thing as not being.
You're saying that to question where things come from is not the same as asking who's the owner of all this? It sounds very similar when Abraham...
No, wait a second. Oh, when Abraham... I explained one time. Good. You brought it back. But I explained one time when Abraham was going around and says, who is the proprietor of this place, of this edifice? Ein Birablei Manhig. Who is the proprietor of this edifice? I explained. Avraham Avinu's question was not where should it come from. That is not a wise question. Avraham Avinu's question was, the proprietor brought it, what for? What does he want with it? What are we supposed to do with it? What is his purpose in creating it? If I know what he is and what he created, then I'll know what my life, the purpose of my being here. He did not question where the world comes from. He said, where is the proprietor of this? I'm looking for the manik to know what he created the beer for. So I'll know what I have to do. What is my doing in this? This we discussed way back when. And this is what the Rebbe says.
In Tehillim, when it says, who made these, looking up at the heavens?
That's not a fundamental question. This is Su Umorim. This is for us to reflect. This is for us. This is not who made it. It's not a fundamental question in Tehillim. This is for us. Because you were walking around the world, lift your eyes and see whose world and what kind of world you're walking around in. Again, for the purpose of appreciating where you are.
The point here is that it is open to the human mind to acknowledge there's the first being. It's not a divine thinking that's out of our realm.
It's only divine thinking.
But
Except the human mind has this compelling element. There's no way the human mind can conceptualize this in it.
But it can acknowledge it.
Oh, acknowledge, yes.
Fine.
This acknowledgement is because he has a spiritual, because he has an neshama, a divine neshama in it.
Yeah, and that's in Tehillim, Surah Nechem. See this. See what's being shown to you.
In Tehillim, we're talking Surah Nechem. This is okay. This was
fine, but
it's out of this.
Fine, but the main point is that materialist thinking asks, where did this originate from? What factory made this? What came before that? That's procedural.
That's procedural.
Fine,
This is from our shortcoming.
Fine, but real human thinking.
The real thinking, if a human being thinks with his intellect,
okay,
with divine gift of intellect, and we explained many times, the basis of intellect, the first perception of intellect is the chokhmah. And I pointed out the chokhmah is like sight. When you lift your eyes and see the sky, you do not ask where the sky is coming from.
So that's interesting. So there is a whole realm of thought where that question is appropriate, but there is another realm of human experience where there is no behind the scenes. It's just, this is the reality. So that's
right. So the question is appropriate. You're right. There is a realm where the question is reality. And here is the point. Please understand now that people come to this. There's chokhmah and bina. In bina there is always a question, where does this come from?
There is, and that's appropriate.
But
yeah,
bina is buttressed by chokhmah.
Chokhmah is the stopping point. Chokhmah says
is a starting point,
or the ending point. It says till here.
It's a starting point. Chokhmah is what gives reality to everything, and then bina can take over, and within the realm of chokhmah understand everything, anything he wants to understand. Like we said, what is a table? A table is a true human. Tell me, what is a table doing over here in this place right now? I'll tell you what it is.
Okay, but just to put a point on it, you are saying that Bina does appropriately ask, where did this come from? So what places the limit?
When Bina asks, where does it come from? He's asking only at the level of Bina, not where it come from on a fundamental level. It knows it comes from Chokhmah.
Mm.
If it does not recognize that, then it's blind. Then it's not chokhmah. Then it's not bina.
Uh-huh.
Bina is based on chokhmah.
Okay.
Within chokhmah, it's asking where does it come from.
Okay. And chokhmah itself does not ask where does this come from because it is
chokhmah,
acknowledging the infinite.
it sees the higher reality.
And once you're witnessing higher reality, there is no origin point.
Of course not. High reality. That's right. There is no origin because I'm saying the whole thought process of origin
Yeah.
is due to our shortcoming that we see things that primarily there is nothing.
Right.
That is not the truth. And then we start thinking, oh yeah, it's not the truth. So therefore, primarily there is. We start thinking what this is that is on the primary level. Then we lose ourselves completely. That is not within the realm of our thought process. That is something which we have to recognize and accept. To know that the first being. And we know that the first being without difficulty, without question, not because we ask a question, where does it come from, we have an answer to it. Rather because we recognize its phenomenal presence, that we have no question for it. We don't need an answer for it. It's too real to further investigate.